Time to cut the nonsense. Let's talk MindSense. I'm your host, Meena J.
मन की बातें तो होती रहेंगी. Keep watching MindSense. मैं हूँ आपकी host, Sarita Chand.
And in the studio with us today, we have the very special Mona Aurora.
Thank you so much. Mona. Thank you for having me here. It means a lot.
Yes, so welcome. So, first of all, tell us, Mona Aurora, who are you? Tell us about yourself, where you're from, your upbringing.
Okay, well, I'm Mona Aurora, and I came to Canada in 1993, born and brought up in India, Jalandhar.
Okay.
Been here for many years. It's just been a blessing, and I always say that I have the best of both the worlds. I mean, if India gave me my roots, I would say Canada gave me the wings to fly. So I feel so amazingly blessed that I have the best of both worlds.
So Mona, let me ask you, so when you came here in 1993, like, did you migrate with your parents? Like, what was the journey like?
So we got the sponsorship. The sponsorship was supposed to be for myself, my sister. My sister sponsored us. So it was supposed to be for myself, my sister, my mother, and my dad. In the meantime, my sister got married. So it was supposed to be for myself, my mom, and my dad. And apparently my mom passed away. I was 15 when my mom passed away. So it ended up being for myself and my dad. And yes, I love being here. As I said, I have the best of both the worlds, but I still remember when I came in 93, I think I was only 1 month old, 1 month into the country, and the clothes needed ironing. And I can handle anything but ironing. So I put all the clothes in the garbage bag and I gave it to my dad. I'm like, Dad, can you get these clothes ironed? And he looked at my face and he's like, sweetheart, you do it yourself. I'm like, wait a second, let me get this all right, okay? I said, so I cook, and my dad couldn't get the job at the time because he was overqualified, so I also became the main breadwinner of the house. So I was like, okay, I cook, I clean, I do the laundry, I do this, and I do ironing. I'm like, you gotta get my ticket back home. Like, I'm not staying here. But bless assured, here I am.
Well, also you said, the plan was that, your mom would be coming and then, your mom passed away.
Yeah.
Also that transition and kind of becoming, did you kind of take that role over, like with your dad?
Actually, so if I was to go back a little bit more on my story, my mom had an arthritis when I was only 2 years old. So if you were to ask me that, picture your mom, or if I connect with my mom every single day. If I was to picture my mom or if I was to imagine my mom, I could never imagine her healthy because I've always seen her on the bed. So it's very hard for me to even connect that how would a healthy woman as a mom would look like. So, and my sister was 11 years old. We have 3 sisters. So my older sister literally took over the role of a mother. So my vision of my mother is my sister and the other sister. So yes, I mean, I think the responsibilities came very early on. We did have like the maids and whatnot taking care of a little bit here and there, but still not to the extent where you would have to do everything. So that was like a little bit of a like shock, or you would say a little bit of a change for me. It's like, okay, do everything, and ironing something I never wanted to. And I still do the day I don't. I'm glad I have that steamer.
So you came quite young. Did you study? And you worked?
I worked. So I came, I don't know, it's almost like trying to give my age away now. Which I'm totally okay with it. Which I'm totally okay with. I was 19 when I came to Canada, and the plan was to study. But as I said, that my dad was overqualified. My dad was a architect in Mumbai. Amazingly, like he has done biggest projects in Mumbai. However, when he came here, it was overqualified. So he couldn't find the job that would fit the expenses of our household. So I was the main breadwinner of the house in the beginning. So plan was I would work for some time and then I would go back to schooling. But you know how that goes. Once you're working, when that paycheck is coming, that's it. You're probably kind of done, right? So I did that for about 2-3 years, and then I got married. So study-wise, no, I did not. But now where I am with my life, I'm like, I don't think so. I'm missing out. I mean, my son is taking university. I'm all for education, but I think it depends upon what becomes your passion, what becomes your, as we were talking about, your why, what you do. Where if you think that education is a fit, then yeah, go for it. For me, I just feel that I'm exactly where I need to be, and education was not part of it.
Yeah, and I think circumstances, but not only that, I mean, you wrote a book, Motivated, and also I know you did your real estate course, so it's you still went and did other things. So talk us about the book that you first wrote, like your journey from the years that I have known you and connected with you. I've always found you to be very spiritual, meditation, and been on that kind of vibration. How were you always like that? How did that journey come
If
about?
you had said this to me, I would say about 15 years ago, that sit down and meditate, and I'm like, you're talking to the wrong Mona. I was very masculine, like go, 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 go.
Oh, wow.
Been doing real estate since 2005, so very, very masculine person. Like meditation, like I didn't even know what that meant. And of course, one of my biggest dream was to have my son study in India. I didn't know that was ever going to happen. But so, one of that wishes that you have it, but you never know that it's actually going to happen.
Yeah.
So I still remember he was a month old. I'm holding him, I'm looking at him, and I was like, only if I could take you to India and have you study there and you sing a Jani Gani Mane. Trust me, that was my biggest dream, that he knows Jani Gani Mane, because I grew up in India. Every morning we have a morning prayer, and then you stand up, you have a national anthem, right? And whole behold, the life took a little turn for me, and next thing I know, I was in India for 2 years, and my son did study 2 years in India, and my biggest dream did come true. He surprised me at grade 5 graduation in India, in Delhi, where he was on the stage singing Jani Gani Mane.
Wow.
Sorry. I still have this to the date on the YouTube.
Like
as
Khushi
my
Kabhi Gum.
and but the funny thing is, he's seen that movie. He's seen this movie. So when he came off the stage, he looked at me, and I'm bawling out. I'm crying. My son's on because every evening he would come home and he would lock himself in the room, but wouldn't tell me what he was doing.
Yeah.
And apparently he was practicing for the national anthem. So when he came off the stage, and I'm like bawling my cameras, and he's like, "Mom, that was literally Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum scene." So, but that's where my life actually took a turn, because things happened where I went through my dip with my relationship, and I just felt that my whole world was falling apart, because all I have known was just to work, 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 and here I have no money. I literally had no money, nowhere. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen to the life, and I remember it was 3 o'clock in the morning. My son was sleeping in another room, and I was crying like a little girl in the bathroom, and I was like, where do I go from here? I'm in a country where I've never worked, and as you said, that
So this was back in Canada.
this is back in this is back in India. I was there for 2 years
yes.
when the life had taken a turn, and I just didn't know what was going to happen from this on. And I have never worked in India. I don't even. And in India, you could be an MB and still looking for a job, and here I'm grade 12. So all those fears were coming up. That where do I take my life from here? I have no money. All the money was wiped out of my account, and I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, it almost as if somebody whispered in my ear and said, meditate. And something came over that I stopped crying completely, and I just deep down felt that that's where my answer was. So I went quiet, I went to bed, and next morning I got one thing I have heard over the time period as I was growing up, the best time to meditate is very, very early morning, because that's when cosmic energy is very high. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna, and I had nothing else to fall on. So I was like, okay, fine. If this is the only thing, then I'll do the meditation. So I started doing 5 in the morning. It was not an easy journey on the first day, on the second day. Like, you have bills to pay. Your son is going to the schooling. You don't know what's happening with your relationship. And you're in a country where I love my back home, India, but I've never worked there. So you don't know where you're supposed to go from here. With all those things that are going on, I'm trying to meditate, and they usually say meditation, all the thoughts come in. But one thing I learned on my own is that when the thoughts come, let them come in, because it's like looking at the dirty dishes. You can't expect the clean dishes if you don't have, like, if you don't pick up one by one and clean them, right? So that's what I started doing. I went to the meditation for 1 hour every morning at 4:30 in the morning. And it was like literally one by one, dirty dishes are coming up, and I'm cleaning them in my meditation. But about a week later into it, my mom started to come into my meditation. I'm sorry, I'll always get emotional with this topic. And she started reminding me of the things that she used to do when I was a little girl. So I started doing them. And trust me, that was literally a therapy. I personally feel that I did connected with her, and I still to the day, I connect her within the meditation. So meditation is part of my life, because that's my place where I connect with my mother. But she reminded me a lot of things that became my therapy, became my healing, but it literally took my life from, I would say if I was going flat, it literally took my life from there to upwards. I mean, I didn't feel scared of anything, and meditation that does that for you anyway. It just grounds you, connects you, and makes you understand that what is your bigger purpose on the planet, like why are you here? It's not about just coming, paying your bills, and of course you're going to take care of your bills and leaving the planet. There's more to your life, and that's where I got to tap into what legacy I'm going to leave behind.
Wow.
And I think, I hear before too, like people that actually meditation and take this seriously is getting up at that time. I think that's so inspiring. I think I'm very spiritual, meditate, but to get up, it's like I find that hard. I think making that commitment, because we all, myself, I do the easy way of the spirituality and meditation and believing, but you have to actually put in this hard work, getting up at those times, meditating and actually focusing for you to get the full, because then we get frustrated. Oh, I'm doing this, I'm praying, but nothing's happening, but we're not actually putting in the work that we're supposed to. So
I think that you just use the word praying, and I'm going to say this with the full respect, and I think that's where I hope that people that are listening that understand that meditation is not the place where you go and you pray for things or you ask for things. Meditation is the place from where you actually listen. And that's when it's like the best analogy that I give for meditation, anybody that asks me, Mona, how do I meditate? Like, what do I ask for? I'm like, no, meditation is like you go and watch a movie. You don't go with any expectations. You basically sit on that chair or on the ground, wherever you're on the floor, and you say, surprise me. You just say, surprise me. That's how you get entertained in the movies, right? You don't know what the director has directed in the movie. You watch it as you go. And that's what the meditation is. You just tell the universe, surprise me. And what the universe does is that that's what I'm saying, to not resist the thoughts. Because thoughts' job is to come to the surface, because that's healing happening. When you are not resisting the thoughts, some of your thoughts are going to come into the surface, which probably happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 3 days ago. But that's the universe way of saying this needs attention and cleaning. This needs attention and then cleaning. And as you're doing that, that's when you'll realize that, one, meditation will become the addiction. And two, it's a very calm place to be. Nothing bothers you then. Nothing bothers you, because it's, as you said, that whether you get up, and because it becomes an addiction for me, it's been 14 years, every morning I get up 4:30 to 5. Wow. It's just, I can't even imagine my life without it anymore. I mean, for me, I can miss anything in the world but my meditation time. And early morning is, and if you're somebody that's having a difficult time getting up in the morning, that's fine. I always say start slow. So if you get up at 8 or 9, or you do it in the evening or in the afternoon, it doesn't matter. But do it for a few minutes anyways. But I committed to it for 1 hour every morning. But now it's every day kind of thing. I do it in the morning. I could be cleaning and I could be totally in my trance. Like sometimes my son would walk into the room and I'm sitting on the couch in the middle of the day and I'm just sitting there. And it's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm in my trance. Like I enjoy it so much that whether I'm cooking or I'm cleaning or whatever I'm doing, I'm in my meditative state. So yeah.
Wow. I know that I was trying to meditate for 10 years. And of course, I had all the wrong understanding of why I needed to meditate. I literally thought I needed to control my thoughts.
No.
But what I needed to learn over time was I needed to let my thoughts control me. So, and now I can do it. And I think I can understand now is once you get the taste of the trance, when you go, it becomes an addiction.
It's an addiction.
It is an addiction because nothing else feels that serene and calm and peaceful. That's and that's what you long for. Like every day is like, okay, I have some time. Let me just and listening, to be able to listen within. That's what discipline is what, when you learn that discipline, then only we can go within. Because if you're not disciplined, the chatter outside is way too loud, way too loud.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where you start to connect so much, and that's why what other people do or say or happens in your life doesn't bother you, because everything is a life lesson. And meditation brings you to that calm place, that where you understand and accept, oh, so this person was supposed to cross my path, and this person was exactly supposed to do what he did do, whether right, wrong, good, bad, doesn't matter, but it's just a life lesson. So you actually be very grateful. I usually say that the people that have hurt you the most, or even if I have to speak for myself, the people that have hurt me the most, I would say, are my true masters. So they're true. The one who actually helped me to grow. Otherwise, I would not be where I am today.
I totally agree with you, Mona. Like I certainly can relate to that. If it wasn't for the pain and the suffering, I wouldn't be where I am or who I am.
Yeah.
That's what really helped me build myself and also my character.
Yeah.
So to move, like you wrote Motivated, the book, and how did you decide? Obviously, I mean, it takes a lot of discipline, and I get so inspired every time I hear it. And how did you take that to the next level?
I had people asking me the question, how long did it take you to write a book?
Yeah.
And my answer is always to that is that, well, thinking about it probably 10 years, but to actually write it 5 months.
Okay.
Because how many times we have things that we keep thinking about it, but it's just once you commit, then that's it, then the door's open, right? So I used to run meditation sessions from home. I still do, but I do only the people that I know calls me. Otherwise, back then I used to open up my door and hearts to everyone and just come in. So I used to run the meditation session, and everybody would ask me, so tell us about you. So we would talk, and they said, oh my God, you need to write a book. People would love to understand that, as especially a single mom, I've been raising my kid on my own ever since he was 7 or 8 years old. And here I am, lost everything with my past relationship. I was literally had $5 in the pocket, and my son, my dog on one side, one mattress and one suitcase, and I didn't know where I was going to go that night. I had no idea. And so I built my life from the ground up again. So anyways, I used to do meditations, and these women would come and say, my God, you need to write a book. You need to let people know your story. And so when I wrote the book and I gave in for publishing, somebody asked me, so how are you going to market this book? Like, what is your strategy? Who's your publisher? And I said, you know what, even if one woman reads it, I'll be like, it's worth my time. So I wrote the book, and I think my true blessing came from writing that book was I was at one of the banks. I'm not going to name the bank. I was at one of the banks, and I was depositing my very first check after I came back from India. I went back into real estate, so I took some time off. I went back into real estate. So my first real estate commission check came for the draft. So I went to deposit that draft into my business account. And I was in the teller side, and I gave the check to her, and she goes, oh, we're going to put the hold on it for 5 to 6 business days because this is your first check, the business check into your account. And Grace, thankfully, I didn't needed that money right away. I said, yeah, that's fine, not a problem. As soon as I said that, there was a woman behind the counter going past, and she goes, oh, wait. So she came to the teller, and she goes, are you Mona Arora? I'm like, yeah. And she goes to the teller, and she goes, you know what, I'll sign it off on it. It's okay, you don't have to put on hold. This story always makes me emotional. And she goes, I said, oh, do I know you? And she goes, hang on. And she went back to her purse.
Took out the book.
Yeah, I mean, these things happen where we don't expect, and you wrote the book without having the purpose of making money or how it's going to benefit me in some way. You wanted to benefit people, and it came back around, giving you.
So in that moment, I was like, maybe I just wrote it for her. So yeah, sorry.
You don't mean to make it funny. But it's so real, and it's so inspiring listening to you. Like you said, you had $5. You had your son, you had a suitcase, you had your dog, and then building yourself, even just doing that, trying to get back, getting a job, place to live, is like such an achievement.
Oh, I feel blessed.
Yeah, but going even beyond that, and then also, like lately, Vancouver Women in Focus. So I've always seen you reaching out, empowering other women, and bringing that to the surface of how you can help empower other women. So maybe talk about that, how that came about, that you want to do this Vancouver
Women of Vancouver.
Women of Vancouver.
So 15 years ago, this was even before I went back to India with my son to study, to have him study. I had a woman sitting and just sharing her story. And she said, one day, I wish I could share my story. I'm like, why don't you share it now? It's so inspiring. I mean, you've gone through struggles. And she goes, yeah, one day I'll write a book and I'll share it. And I was like, I came home and I thought about it. It was like, where did this myth came from that the only way you could share your story is that if you have written a book, like you have to be somebody in order to say that, hey, I've done this, right?
Write a book or do a speech, a presentation.
Or like you're not, and you have such a successful business, and then you say, oh my God, here's my struggles, right? And I was like, why is there? So for 15 years, every year I would say, I'm going to do this, where I'm going to bring the regular stories out, but it never happened. And I believe in the timing from the universe is that when the more grounded you get, that's when your true passion, your purpose, your legacy starts to come out. So recently I went through a rough patch again. And as I was going through the rough patch, my meditation is still my part of my life. I started asking more deeper questions this time. And I've been meditating for many years. So life is ever-long journey, right? You never stop learning. You never stop scratching the surface. You think that you mastered it all, but you haven't. So as I was meditating with the new patch that I'm going through with my life patch, I started asking more deeper questions, that if something was to happen to me today, what legacy am I leaving behind? I always wanted to do this. This had been my dream. And I heard it many years ago. They said the most richest people are the people in the grave who died with their dreams in. And I was like, I don't want to go there without having to say that I didn't do it. And that's how the Women of Vancouver came in play, that I started reaching out to some women. I know you're one of them too, and I'm so blessed that you said yes.
Thank you.
And what I want to do is I want to pick the stories of day-to-day people, not that they're not successful, not that they're not somebody, that's not where it's coming from. Like, there's a barista in that interview. There's like a housewife in that interview. There's like, I just want to pick the handful of the people or whoever come forward to share their story, who's living their day-to-day life and yet trying to make it an extraordinary way in their own unique way. So they may have not written the books. They may have not been on the stage. They may have not been the CEO of the companies. And I'm not saying those are not important. I mean, they probably went through their struggles. But I was like, how do a common person or a woman connects with the common woman? How do we empower and inspire them? You could be picking up your daughter from a bus stop, dropping her for the daycare, and going on your job and coming back and baking for some of your business. Like, you all doing that, but there's some extraordinary movements happening in there. Why? Like, you could inspire somebody, because somebody could be sitting with only one issue and one problem and not realizing that here's an ordinary woman who's doing so much more. So how do we bring those to the platform? And that's where the Women of Vancouver came in play, where I started searching and hunting of the people living an ordinary, who thought that they were living an ordinary life. And I said, how can we make it an extraordinary for the listeners? And that's what the Women of Vancouver is.
Yeah.
We don't have a TV channel. We do it on YouTube and Facebook, Instagram.
Well, nowadays it's social media, right?
It is
Everything
social media.
So getting out there and having that vision and actually doing it also, bringing women, because like they say, everybody has a story. Everybody we meet has a story, their own story of what they've gone through, their own struggles, and bringing that to light, I think is so.
And it's funny though, when I used to post on Instagram, this is a few years back, I've been doing Instagram posting for quite a few years, and I don't know why, out of the blue, I would always hashtag, what's your story? Always I would hashtag, what's your story, out of nowhere. So one day when I was meditating, and as I said, that I just connect with my higher self, and I started asking those deeper questions, is that what legacy you're leaving behind? How do you want to be remembered when you're gone? All those things are coming up, and all of a sudden this hashtag flashed right in front of me, and it said, what's your story? And I'm like, oh my God, 15 years ago I wanted to do this. I need to act on it. And literally the minute, I just like book, the minute I decided I wanted to write it, 5 months later it happened. This one, literally the minute I decided to the time I started doing it, it was literally 3 weeks. I don't know. Wow. Everything started to come play. And most of the people that are in interview, I literally met them on the day off. I just trusted my intuition so much that I started calling people and say, hey, do you have a story? Well, like, one of the women that has the story in there, she thought that I was reaching out to her for business perspective, and I said, no, I'm not. She goes, but Mona, I have no story. I said, okay, let's talk about it. So I talked to her over the phone. I said, tell me this. And the minute we started talking, she was bawling out. She said, nobody have ever asked me that. Even I have forgotten that that's where I came from, and that's what happened in my life. I said, that's what I want you to share. Yeah. So we have that story on there.
Yeah.
You know what, Mona, I just, listening to you, first of all, I really appreciate a woman who's connected to her emotions and also to her spirituality. I think that's so much power. That's the true identity, like the power of a woman. We all have, like, education or not education, we all have accomplishments or, something that we didn't achieve. But when we have the power to connect to our emotions and spiritually, we are strong. We are unstoppable. And that's what I see in you. And having said that, I want to ask you, where is Mona heading?
Well, I do take my day as it comes, but where am I heading? One is when Women of Vancouver has become my very, very big vision, and it almost like, So when I registered the domain Women of Vancouver, I actually ended up registering the name Women of World. Because I was like, this is something that we can duplicate anywhere, is that find those ordinary stories, people who are just living ordinary life. I do want to write my second book, even though I don't even know where my first book stands right now. I've never marketed it, but I do want to write my second book. But in second book, I want to actually pick up the stories of other women and have them share their chapter in there, and just the ordinary stories, the ordinary stories. Maybe they're just watering their plants and something happened and their life shifted. I don't know, but that's where I'm heading. And my biggest pillar of my life is my son. He, in fact, well, it's a perfect day to actually interview this, which is a Father's Day. So for those that are listening, if you're a single mom, I'll say this: take a huge pride in it. It's a double duty we do, and I give all the power to the men as well, for sure. But as a single moms, it's not an easy task, or it's not an easy job, and it's not a cakewalk. But as we make it look like a cakewalk. So I would say where I'm heading, I don't know, and I'll tell you why. That's one thing meditation does to you. Is that you basically say to the universe, here I am, guide me.
Guide me.
Wherever you'll put me, I'll be there. Wherever I can serve, I'll be there.
So two things, Mona. Happy Father's Day. And I relate to that because today my son, who's 34 years old, now I'm going to cry, called me and said, Happy Father's Day, Mother. You know, and I take a lot of pride on my children as well. We just have moments left. Mona, you did talk about meditation. Obviously, we can, that does provide you with the grounding, the spirituality. What other things, any form of things you are doing for your mental health and mental well-being?
So yes,
thank you so much. Very inspirational.
Thank you.
We definitely want you back in the studio again.
Thank
and see
you
how
for
you're
having
doing.
me here.
Thank you so much, Mona. And until next time, this is your host, Meena J.
मैं हूँ आपके host, Sarita Chand.